All right, welcome everyone to another deep dive for The Explainer. Today we've got a seriously fascinating and honestly pretty provocative topic lined up for you. We're going to look directly at a primary source text written by an actual practitioner of Satanism. Now look, regardless of your personal beliefs, taking a magnifying glass to the actual words and philosophies of belief systems that are, usually totally shrouded in rumor, that's really one of the absolute best ways to sharpen our minds. We're going to strip away all the hearsay, look directly at the author's stated reality, and unpack exactly what this highly misunderstood philosophy entails straight from the perspective of someone who actually walks its path. Okay, let's dive into this. The absolute central question we are tackling today is this: what does it actually mean to be a Satanist? I mean, if you ask the general public, you're going to get 100 different answers, right? And mostly they'll be informed by movies, heavy metal music, and urban legends. But our goal today isn't to look at pop culture. Our goal is to look strictly through the lens of a direct source text, to separate all that fiction from the author's stated reality. We're going to analyze their own words to really understand the nuts and bolts of their worldview.
And this brilliantly illustrates the massive divide between public perception and the source text's actual reality. While Hollywood stereotypes always seem to fixate on death metal, painting your nails black, acting out, or being abusive, which, by the way, the author fiercely rejects as the behavior of what they call idiot punks, the actual core of the philosophy is vastly different. The text claims true Satanism is about ultimate self-mastery. It's about functioning as a leader rather than a follower, valuing deep intelligence, and going on a relentless pursuit of truth. It's a really stark contrast, and it completely sets the stage for everything else we're going to cover today.
So here is our roadmap. We're going to unpack this polarizing philosophy step by step. First, debunking the stereotypes. Second, examining their pursuit of truth. Third, defining the left-hand path. Fourth, looking at the ultimate goal of becoming gods. And finally, exploring emissaries and the end. Let's get right into it. Section 1. Debunking satanic stereotypes. Rejecting the clowns. So the source text actually kicks things off with what can only really be described as a battle cry. The author immediately and pretty aggressively attacks anyone who falsely claims the title of Satanist just to justify bad behavior or, adopt an edgy aesthetic. They're incredibly protective of their philosophy, and they state quite clearly, "I want to set the record straight. You are a complete idiot and asshole if you think Satanism is about being abusive towards innocent animals or children, or if you think that by wearing makeup and painting your nails black that you are some sort of wizard, lol. You're a clown and make me laugh at just how stupid you really are." Now, the hostility here is completely intentional. By labeling these superficial actors as literally just clowns, the author makes it crystal clear that true Satanism, at least in their eyes, is about profound self-control and mastery, not Halloween costumes or mindless cruelty.
Section 2. The Pursuit of Truth. Escaping the Matrix.
Right, so once the author establishes what a Satanist is not, the focus shifts to how a true follower must interact with society. This is where the philosophy really turns inward, focusing on intellectual rigor and a deeply ingrained skepticism of the world around them. The text introduces this fascinating worldview, arguing that mainstream society basically operates on an everyday normal society matrix of accepted lies. In their view, the general public just blindly accepts whatever told as truth. To be a true practitioner, you have to absolutely refuse to be a blind follower of this matrix. They see the average person's understanding of the world as fundamentally flawed, built on these illusions that the Satanist must actively work to escape.
So the crucial point here is, how do they actually go about escaping this matrix of lies? Well, the author outlines a highly structured, super pragmatic methodology for acquiring real knowledge. Step 1, you have to admit when you don't know something instead of just acting arrogantly. They really emphasize that admitting a shortcoming is literally the only time a person is truly ready to learn. Step 2, learn everything you possibly can from those who've walked the path before you to gain actual wisdom. And step 3, never ever accept an opinion as truth unless you verified it yourself through proper channels. So it's a remarkably disciplined approach, totally aimed at building genuine intelligence rather than just faking it.
Section 3. The Left-Hand Path. The Mind of the Serpent. Now here's where the source begins to use some esoteric terminology to describe the practitioner's journey. Because it's not just about learning facts, right? It's about adopting a very specific psychological framework to navigate through life. And central to this framework is a concept the author calls the mind of the serpent. What this means is maintaining a cunning mind at all times and always being ready to learn while walking the left-hand path. But it's way more than just being clever. The text specifies that a practitioner has to maintain the attitude of both a student and a teacher simultaneously. You're always seeking advice so you can evolve, but you're also actively developing yourself so you can guide others. It's this continuous, never-ending state of evolution. Section 4. Becoming gods and goddesses, the ultimate evolution. So, what exactly are they evolving into? Well, the text describes a pretty extreme form of self-elevation. Practitioners view themselves as continually developing into the gods and goddesses they believe they truly are. But there's a really fascinating duality here. While they hold themselves in the absolute highest possible regard, they also state they must put Lord Satan first in all that they do. Their value comes from spreading his word and knowledge. But, and this is a really key point, they only spread that knowledge to the masses who are truly worthy of it. In doing so, they project a massive aura of self-awareness that totally sets them apart from everyone else.
Interestingly enough, the author defines an emissary of Satan as essentially a representative on Earth. Because they've rejected that matrix of lies we talked about and attained this super high level of knowledge, they carry an automatic aura or a real presence. The text claims this intense self-awareness naturally makes everyday people super uncomfortable. Why? Because the emissary's sheer truth exposes the lies that normal people tell themselves every single day. So, this naturally and very intentionally isolates the practitioner from those who simply conform to society's expectations.
Section 5. Emissaries and the End. Ruling without remorse.
Let's see how this builds, because this isolation turns into a really stark, totally unforgiving hierarchy. The narrative reaches an absolute, uncompromising separation between the enlightened practitioners and the rest of the world. On one side, we have the emissaries. The text defines them as the leaders, the commanders, the ones truly in charge of this world who adhere strictly to their own expectations. And most importantly, they believe they must rule without any remorse or forgiveness for the ignorance of others. On the flip side, we have what the author literally calls the sheep. These are the followers who conform to society, choosing the yoke over freedom, and who ignorantly deny the emissaries their rights. There is absolutely no middle ground in this worldview.
Now, this absolute division culminates in a really severe apocalyptic climax. The author writes regarding the sheep who choose ignorance over freedom. For their bodies upon the day of judgment shall serve us well, as they rot and stink beneath our feet like carpet on the streets, as we walk upon them and their bones break and crumble into dust. I mean, wow. This visceral imagery really demonstrates the uncompromising and extreme reality the author holds. They offer absolutely no salvation for those who refuse to wake up. Instead, they see them merely as a physical foundation to just be walked upon when judgment arrives.
The text then wraps up with a series of final eternal proclamations. The author vows that from now until the very last stars in the heavens burn out, they will forever proclaim, "Hail Satan, hail Lucifer, hail Queen Lilith, and hail Ordo Templi Diaboli." It's a vow of absolute eternal commitment to this left-hand path, right? It's a promise to maintain their cunning mind and their self-appointed status as earthly gods until the very end of time itself. So we've unpacked the text from beginning to end, stripping away all those Hollywood myths to look right at the source's unapologetic reality. And so as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought to consider. If a philosophy defines ultimate self-mastery as absolute, unapologetic separation from the rest of humanity, what does that actually mean for the future of those who walk that path? Does total independence fundamentally require total isolation? Really think about it. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive for The Explainer, and as always, keep questioning what you read. See you next time.